The big military story for the United States concerns the ongoing recruitment crisis. Not enough young people are joining up, so the armed services are revamping their marketing approaches. One company helping in that effort is called the Refuel Agency. Joining me to explain what's going on, Refuel's Senior Vice President for the military market, Liz Carmo. Ms. Carmo, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Tell us about some of the efforts that you are doing on behalf of the military service branches to try to rev up their recruitment efforts, because they do have a big problem getting enough bodies in those recruitment doorways.
Yes, that's correct. I'd say we're dealing with a different generation, a different time, and we always focus on a research-based approach of saying we may know we have boots on the ground at many different locations around many different bases, and we see how the military has changed through the years. Specifically, our corporation, Armed Forces Communications, doing business as Refuel Agency, we've been around for 37 years. 37 years ago is a very different military than it is today. The recruitment challenges are there, and the recruitment profile is really a family history industry. We're seeing that 51%, 52% are enlisting because of family history. And that's the biggest change that there's been over the years. It's not for benefits. It's not for the respect and honor. Family history has really come core. So we need to change that, right? We have to be able to be more competitive with jobs. We have to be able to really show them the outcome, what comes in career advancement within the military, but also, how are you going to get out and how are we going to support you? So we run a military explorer study annually that really goes into the lifestyle and consumer insights, shopping patterns, education, career plans, post active duty plans. And we've been doing it for over 10 years now. And really, the questions that are asked can drill down to branch of service. They can drill down to veterans of Vietnam era to post 9/11 veterans, Reserve and National Guard, many different profiles that we're looking at to see how things have changed. The biggest thing is that when we did have, recruiters who were unable to access like ROTC programs in school, they're unable to really be in community because of COVID, we saw a big gap happen, right? It was really social media. It was anything on the news that people were hearing about what was going on, with military and the military culture, where we were globally. And without like the truth and the voice and the advocacy that was on the ground from recruiters, I think really we lost a few years.
What about those people that are of recruitment age now, and they are different from the ones 37 years ago, even 7 years ago? They're often not in good shape physically, or they have been fed TikTok and other propaganda forms that might degrade the military in their eyes, or they saw, the quick withdrawal from Afghanistan, what a disaster that was, and they see what's happening in war zones throughout the world and say, what do I want to sign up for that for? How do you overcome that perception that there are some great careers in the military? And you do have to go through boot camp, but it might do you some good.
Yeah, yes. And I think that really the core of why I say recruitment is primarily now for family history is because those who are in community understand that value, understand, why doing this. Like, I love this culture so much because it's like such a resilient and honorable, a disciplined community. And you don't get that outside of the military. You really don't. That's why they make amazing employees. You don't have, I'd say, as much like of a lost community, right? Everyone thinks that they can be an influencer, everyone can create their own business. Everyone can do everything. So they don't think that they need a career path, a military career path, to really put them in a successful point later in their life. And they don't believe that they need to sacrifice their time and be away from family, risk themselves in order to do so. So I think the challenge and, where we need to communicate to the audience is that this is to advance yourself, your family, and your country. And in order to do that, recruiters and just the branches of service, DoD as a whole, VA, we know that with military are the best recruiters in themselves. we are not just having a recruitment issue, we're having a retention issue. And if we do not treat the current and prior service with the benefits and respect that's needed, you're going to lose your biggest influential group, right? So it's two-pronged there. So I think to the younger folks, we need to say to those enlisting, these are the benefits. This is the career path that you are able to see, whether it's 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 20
Sure.
years. Like, this is where you're going to advance in the service and out of service.
We're speaking with Liz Carmo. She is Senior Vice President for the military market at the Refuel Agency. And the Army, we'll stick with them for a moment, had different campaigns and slogans over the years, be all you can be. I think recently they went back to the Army of One idea, or maybe they abandoned that in favor of be all you can be, emphasizing
Army Strong,
team Army Strong.
Too, yeah.
What are good messages today for the TikTok generation, for lack of a better word?
I mean, the message is so individualized that you need to understand that this is a generation that, even though it seems like they don't care about cause-oriented initiatives because they seem so superficial in values, that's not true. They do care about things that are made in America, being socially responsible. So it's really, what are we doing as a country to support them and for them to continue to support our country, and to really make a social conscious, decision where it's like, you think about military in the past, it was very different. It was outside of the culture of the civilians, two different worlds. We really see this merge happening, right? There's much more of a military culture that is merging into civilian culture, and that is because of social media.
Right, and something you said, too, that the idea that you have to market almost individually, that's the new trend anyway in marketing and advertising, whereas a television ad on the Carol Burnett show might have had impact more than 30 years ago, maybe 40 years ago. Today, unless you're on the Super Bowl, and even then, it's a question of how effective that is. It sounds like the military needs digital means to reach people at a much more microscopic level.
Yeah, and there's restrictions, right? There is DoD social policy that restricts certain mediums for being used, which puts them at a disadvantage of where this audience is engaging and spending a lot of time. That doesn't mean that they can't get creative and figure out different ways of embracing the community. But everything is about identity marketing now and that personalization. They need to adopt private sector trends of how to do business in order to reach Gen Z.
All right. And just a quick question on some of the marketing campaigns that you have done on behalf of people selling stuff to military members that's resulted in some contributions from your company back to military, and specifically in the area of prostate cancer research.
So our owners, Prospect Capital, a private equity company, John Barry, donated to the Center of Excellence in Florida and Manhattan. And they just believe, in this community greatly. And there's different VA challenges for, I would say, accelerated medical care. And so they're trying to provide different research and testing for veterans with prostate cancer in order to advance them and get solutions solved there. There's a very high incidence rate of prostate cancer against veterans.
Liz Carmo is Senior Vice President for the military market at the Refuel Agency. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Tom.
And we'll post this interview at federalnewsnetwork.com/Federal Drive. Subscribe to the Federal Drive wherever you get your podcasts.